Several cars wrecked in a wild car chase. How a thief ended up taking off in the driver's seat of a state patrol car.
Here at the Capitol, there's an effort underway to change how district lines are drawn for legislators and members of Congress.
A quick-thinking gladiator with the power of an Olympic swimmer and the wings of an angel jumps into the swift river current to save a drowning man.
Live from Atlanta, 11Alive at 6 starts now.
And our top story at 6, a 10-year-old child killed as a police chase ends in a fiery crash in Douglas County. And it turns out there were 3 other children in that car. All of them tonight are in critical condition. And tonight, the sheriff's office says they had no idea those kids were in the car until it crashed.
But we want to know, could more have been done to protect these young children and save the 10-year-old's life? Chris Hopper is taking a closer look at Douglas County's chase protocol and whether deputies followed it or not.
And looking at this video, you can see it's really difficult to tell that there was anybody else in the car. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office says tonight, without a doubt, that deputy followed their policy.
Saturday, 7:45, a Douglas County deputy clocks a gray Infiniti on Thornton Road at 69 in a 45. On go the lights and sirens. The Infiniti pulls over and stops in a Quick Trip parking lot. As the deputy opens his door, the car speeds away. A chase ensues.
When the deputy pulled in behind the vehicle in the Quick Trip parking lot, the only occupant that could be seen at that time was the driver.
Based on that information, the sheriff's office says it allowed him to continue that pursuit for almost 3 minutes and more than 3 miles. The Infiniti swerves, drives over the median, loses a tire before a terrible crash. The car drove directly under a semi-truck. Douglas County says the pursuing deputy ran to the fiery car to help. He found the driver and a 10-year-old passenger dead. 3 other children, ages 6, 5, and 3, critically injured. They say not one in a car seat or a seatbelt.
In this particular incident, had the deputy known that there were 3 children in this car and the violations were for speeding and reckless driving, we would have very likely terminated this pursuit and not continued it.
The pursuing and an assisting deputy pulled the other kids to safety. They were taken to Scottish Rite.
And I'm very proud of the fact that this went from a chase to saving lives, and the deputies did not hesitate.
Douglas County says the driver, 30-year-old Billy Frazier, who you see in this Facebook photo, was driving on a suspended license, had a stolen gun, a lot of drugs, including cocaine, crack, meth, and marijuana, and he was also on probation.
We, without a doubt, know it was within policy.
And I requested a copy of that policy today. We received it this afternoon. I read through it. I looked it over. It looks like, based on what we can tell, that deputy certainly followed the proper procedure.
Chris, thank you. From one wild chase to another, this one went through DeKalb County. It involved several wrecked vehicles this evening, and it ended with 1 man in custody. Georgia State Patrol says it started when a trooper tried to pull over the suspect who was speeding on I-20. So this all happened, as you see there, in the area of Flat Shoals Road and Fayetteville Road. Now, we're told the driver initially stopped, but then he drove away. He crashed into several vehicles. That's when he got out of his car. He ran away on foot. Troopers eventually chased him down, and that is when we're told it gets really complicated here. He circled back, jumped into a patrol car, and stole that and drove it away. So GSP says the man then crashed that patrol car into 3 more cars, seriously injuring 1 person who had to be taken to Grady Hospital. The driver eventually tracked down. He was arrested after he ditched the patrol car. Troopers later found the car that he was initially driving, a Jaguar. That car was also stolen, and it had a gun inside. We are working to learn what other charges that driver will be facing. No doubt it will be a lot of them.
Really complicated, sad stories tonight. This is all new at 6. Police are searching for the person who shot an arrow through a cat's head. This happened in Floyd County. Now, the cat has survived, but people all over the 11Alive Facebook page are asking us to please stay on top of this story until the individual responsible is caught. Tonight, Joe Henke is speaking to the rescue group now caring for that cat.
Christy LaRue with the cat rescue organization Floyd Felines is taking care of a one-of-a-kind cat.
We have Floyd Mayweather. We named him after a boxer because we knew he needed to be a fighter to make it through this.
LaRue says recently a Floyd County man who often fed the stray cat found him with a crossbow arrow sticking out of his head. The man called Floyd County police, and a short time later, Floyd ended up in LaRue's hands. She says she was in shock, having never seen anything like this before, but she also felt relieved to see this fighter was still alive and remaining calm.
100% believe it's intentionally done. Where the arrow was in his, in his head, it had to be something at point blank range.
Floyd headed into surgery at Culbreth Carr Watson Animal Clinic in Rome. X-rays show the arrow went through Floyd's skull, but thankfully did not reach his brain.
It was kind of touch and go because we had to watch for certain things that you would like with any type of concussion or brain injury or skull fracture. But he's just breezed right through it. It's really been amazing.
Now, with the arrow removed, LaRue says Floyd County police are investigating, and she's turning the arrow over to police to become evidence.
This needs to stop. If it's something, if it's kids or an adult that would do something like this, it needs to be brought to justice.
As far as Floyd is concerned, though, everything is perfect. He still has an appetite for a good meal and soon should be up for adoption, with several interested families already calling to ask about him.
He's taken up 8 of his 9 lives, but he's definitely a fighter.
In Floyd County, I'm Joe Henke, 11Alive News.
Well, good for that cat. What a great story there. Hopefully that man gets caught. Let's move to your weather now. Another round of rain headed our way. Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb tracking those showers for us tonight. Chris.
Yeah, we've got some of this rain now that's in northwest Georgia, and that's moving up toward the north and the east. I'm not really concerned about this part of the system impacting us in Atlanta. It's more of that moisture back into Alabama that'll eventually make it our way. You can see these showers. They already moved through parts of northwest Georgia and then pushed up into Tennessee and North Carolina. Here's the next wave coming into Dade, Walker County, also into Catoosa County, Whitfield County, and Murray County, the northern parts of Chattooga County as well, and that's going to keep feeding in here. Now, some of these showers back in Alabama a little bit earlier produced a little bit of lightning, some thunderstorm activity there along Interstate 22. Once that got to Interstate 65, though, it fell apart. And then we have more of this moisture. Remember yesterday, we were talking about that little bit that was just the beginning of the rain that was going to spread more Gulf moisture our way. This is what we have now, and all of this is going to be pushing into our area. Stay with us. We're going to have more on the timing of this system and which parts of Georgia will have a little better chance to see some severe storms. We'll talk about that in just a bit.
Thank you, Chris. Some new information this evening from Edwin Jackson's family. A funeral service for the Indianapolis Colts linebacker has now been set for next week here in Atlanta. Jackson was killed over the weekend by a suspected drunk driver in Indiana. That story has certainly caught the attention now of not only sports fans and Atlantans, but the president, who tweeted this morning that Jackson's death is, quote, one of many such preventable tragedies. Police say the man who killed Jackson, the 37-year-old Manuel Orrego Salvala, is a Guatemalan citizen in the U.S. illegally. In his tweet, the president called for Democrats to get tough on the border and illegal immigration. Congress is debating the issue this week as part of another looming budget deadline. But a spokesperson for Jackson's family told us yesterday, quote, the greater crime as I see it is not the fact that the suspect is here illegally, but the irresponsible and criminal act of drinking and driving. That is the horror here. Jackson played football for both Westlake High School and Georgia Southern University before being drafted in the NFL. His funeral, it is Monday, 11 o'clock at the Big Bethel AME Church here in Atlanta.
A new law on the books is making changes to Atlanta's policy for nonviolent criminal offenders. Today, as you're seeing there, that's Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms signing an ordinance that eliminates payment of cash bonds to get out of jail. The City Council overwhelmingly approved the ordinance last night. Mayor Bottoms says people should not be held in jail just because they can't afford to pay bond.
When you are talking about poor people who are being unfairly incarcerated, it may not be your brother, but it may be your barber's brother.
Nonviolent offenders will now have the option of a signature bond, which is basically just a promise to return to court. Mayor Bottoms says this is just one facet of her push for additional criminal justice reform.
Georgia lawmakers are considering a resolution that would change the way our state draws legislative and congressional districts. This measure would make an effort to take politics out of map drawing. 11Alive's Doug Richards is at our Capitol with more.
To appreciate the art of reapportionment in Georgia, one need look no further than the state Senate districts of DeKalb and Gwinnett counties. District 5 looks a bit like a cubist cheetah leaping to the right. At the beast's underbelly, there's District 41, which dribbles out of Gwinnett toward a chunk of DeKalb. They're both carefully drawn seats packed with Democratic voters. And they're alongside District 9, which has been a safe Republican seat. The Georgia Senate is packed with Republicans. 66% of its members are Republicans. In Congress, 69% of Georgia's members are Republicans. Meantime, in 2016, Republican U.S. Senator Johnny Isakson won re-election with 55% of the statewide vote.
We should keep communities of interest together.
Democrat Pat Gardner has introduced a resolution that would require new districts not be drawn with the intent to favor or disfavor a political party or an incumbent. Republicans gave the bill a surprise hearing this afternoon, which Gardner views as a victory in itself.
We think the voters are supposed to choose their representatives, as opposed to the representatives saying, I'd like this group of voters. I think they'll vote for me.
Gardner says her bill will not pass this year, but she hopes the concept will live on in light of litigation surrounding the gerrymandered districts of other states and the upcoming 2020 census. At the Capitol, Doug Richards, 11Alive News.
In the right place at the right time with no time to waste. That split-second decision by a local hockey coach that saved a man's life.